Hi everyone and welcome back to SSW TV. I'm Adam Stevenson and I'm here today with Michael Crump. Michael works for our good friends at Telerik. He's an MVP, he writes for MSDN magazine, he's a PluralSight author and he's spoken at conferences all over the world. Michael does everything XAML and lately he's been doing a lot on Windows Phone and that's what he's here to talk to us about today. Welcome Michael.
Oh, well, welcome. Well, thank you for having me on the show, Adam. I really do appreciate it. You guys have been doing a lot of great stuff for the community. I've been checking out your site. I'm happy to be on the show.
Thank you very much for joining us. So tell us, why are you so into Windows Phone?
Yeah, so my Windows Phone addiction, I think, probably started right when it came out. I had looked at various types of phones. The iPhone, obviously, was one of the phones that everybody was getting into, and then Android. And then I looked at developing for, each of these platforms. Objective-C was obviously something that was kind of, intimidating, kind of starting out. Android, I had to fight the Java battle. But then with Windows Phone 7, I was finally able to reuse two skill sets that I had already had. One of them obviously was XAML. I had been doing XAML since early WPF days, and then I had also been using it in Silverlight. This was back, basically Silverlight was the hot thing. So I already had XAML down, and then C# was also my language of choice. So immediately I was able to fall in love with Windows Phone.
That's excellent. Yep, that's unreal. But I believe you actually carry around. So I know you've got a Windows Phone, but I know you've got a couple of other phones as well. So what have you got in your quiver of phones, and how do you find the different experiences?
Yes, so right now I have a Nokia Lumia 920, which is my primary phone. I know everybody's saying it's time to upgrade, to the 1020, but I'm actually fairly happy with the phone that I've got right now. It does everything that I need it to do. I have that as well as I have an iPhone 5. The iPhone 5, the thing I really like about that is that it does have a really nice camera on it. I think the 1020 is obviously better. And then I have just had the luxury of ordering a Nexus 5 device. That has not come in yet. Unfortunately, it's not going to be mine. It is still, the company's. But I will also have a Mozilla Firefox OS phone as well that Mozilla was kind enough to send out to me. So with all of these different phones and with this 4 different operating systems, the reason that I've always kind of liked Windows Phone was that you're so alive and you're alive and well. I mean, when you look at your screen, you're actually looking at live data. You're looking at what is the most important thing to you, versus when you're looking at an iPhone, for example. You're looking at a bunch of static icons, and sure, they have like badges and things of that nature, but it doesn't feel as as connected and really mainly as personal as Windows Phone is.
Definitely. Because I've got the 920 as well, and I absolutely love it. The thing I love about it is the way that they've taken all of the social networking contacts and the way that they've joined them together is absolutely seamless. So, and I know the other operating systems attempt to do it, but it's been, I actually find it quite incredible when I'll meet someone and I'll get their business card and I'll put their name and phone number into my contacts, but because I've already had them on LinkedIn and I've followed them on Twitter, I'll actually go to call them and it was all of that information is joined in together, and as I bring up their number to call them, I can actually see on the screen their current LinkedIn status, and so I'm actually automatically, I can straight away make a comment and start a friendly conversation.
The LinkedIn,
and a lot of that interactivity is quite amazing.
Yeah, the LinkedIn is just an absolutely amazing thing to have built into the phone because you would scroll through like your list of contacts and it looks like you have like I have 500 plus LinkedIn connections because I meet and greet a lot of people from all over
Yeah,
the world and things like that. But when you scroll through that list and you're able to instantly get that information, even like as far as like a Twitter feed and things like that, if they've added in that their Twitter handle, to where they've worked in the past, and I can see, oh, well, maybe I worked at McKesson at one point. Oh, you worked there as well,
yeah,
so it's absolutely perfect for conversation starters, especially,
yeah.
when you're meeting and greeting lots of new people.
Definitely, yeah. I find that's really quite amazing. So, in you've obviously got a lot of experience across a lot of different mobile platforms. Yeah, tell me, what are the pain points that you've come across developing applications for the different platforms?
Yeah, so one of the pain points that I found early on, especially in regards to, say, Apple, for example, iOS, was team provisioning. So provisioning of the profiles. In the past, it was really, really horrible. You would have to go out to you would have to go out to the Apple developer site. You would have to get proper certificates. You would have to manage those certificates. It has gotten a lot better, but we'll
Yep,
give them credit in Xcode 5 for provisioning of profiles. And it just seemed like that was always one of the things that was kind of hard, and also turning on like certain features like iCloud. Now, obviously, they've made some improvements and they've heard some of our complaints, and there's a little toggle switch. But Windows Phone, kind of out of the box, already had all of that in place. So you would plug in your phone, you would pull up the dialog box for your Windows registration. You would enter your name, your device would be registered, and you would be ready to go. And then you could pretty much instantly deploy applications. And this was even back in the Zune days.
yep.
Thankfully now Zune's not required. To deploy applications, it's not required at all. But even back in those days, I found that it was very, very, very easy. Um, to get your device, at least your application running on your device. Then also just the IDE in and of itself. Now I still play with and I still enjoy iOS and Android and some of these other platforms. But Xcode's IDE is an IDE that's just, in my humble opinion, it's just nowhere near where Visual Studio is at.
No.
So, for example, where they say the toolbox is where the toolbox is at. You
Yep.
literally cannot move it. You can't drag and drop, from one corner to the next and move around components. So they have navigation panes for some of those sort of things. In Visual Studio, obviously, the experience is really geared towards the developer. Another pain point is that so the conversation regarding C Sharp and just XAML and just Windows Phone in general, it's so out there and it's so public. While Apple, on the other hand, you have to go into their forums, which there is Stack Overflow and things like that that you can check out. But inside their forums is where a lot of the hot, latest, and greatest type of information is, because it's always protected and it's always behind the paywall. You have to pay them, obviously, um, $100 a year for an individual in order to get past that paywall, to download the bits,
Yep.
to get access to the forums and things like that. Whereas Microsoft, without even paying, you can't deploy, obviously, to the App Store without paying, but you can go ahead and you can build your application, get information, and so forth.
So, Michael, tell me about the apps that you've released into the store.
Yeah, so actually, a lot of the times I'm spending time writing apps for other people that gets published in their name to the store, but I do get time from every once in a while to write my own type of applications. So I have
Okay.
an application where, when I was trying to start losing weight, it was kind of called it's called Treadmill Assistant, and it basically tracks. your runs. Had another one that was fairly popular. I'm still making pretty good revenue off of ads today, and it's just called full screen browser. But then I've had some not so good luck. And so what I mean by that is that there was some people that was on Twitter that I was very interested in following, and I felt that every tweet that they tweeted was always helpful. So I decided that instead of creating like a list and things of that nature, that I would just create an app and I could quickly navigate to it. I could add in a couple of users' names or 20 or 30 or whatever, and it would display basically all of their tweets. The app was absolutely fun to write, worked well, and so I decided to share it with the world. So
It
I did
sounds great.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's perfect. I mean, it's just like a Twitter list, except for it's just easier to get that information because it's just
Hmm.
one app you hit or you open. So I did that, and the next thing I know, I had Twitter contacting me
To buy
because
it?
of Twitter actually contacting me, asking me to take it out of the App Store because of two small little problems. And the first problem was they really didn't like the name because I named it Free Twitter Stalker.
That's great.
So they didn't like the name Stalker and Twitter being together, so that
Yeah.
was one thing. And then the second thing was that the icon that I used, and again, it's just a free app. Um, you know, I just found basically an image that didn't have any, copyright or anything on it, but it was kind of it was an image that was kind of a little shady because it was like this dark guy with like a coat on, and he was looked like he was, a stalker, a real live stalker. So they didn't like the image, so they actually sent me a cease and desist
Wow.
letter. So telling me that I had 24 hours to actually take it out of the App Store. So with
Wow.
that being said, I immediately went to my developer portal. I pulled the app. I sent Microsoft, an email. Hey, can you guys please get this out of here? They gave me like the full here's your contact person at Twitter. Here's their phone
Wow.
number. Here's their email. They gave me the full thing. So
Wow.
obviously, I'm
You
just a
ruffled
one
some
man shop.
feathers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a one man shop here. I'm making nothing off the app. It was just something for fun, but obviously,
You're just helping
uh,
people stalk people via Twitter.
exactly, exactly. What more could you want in an app? So yeah, I did that, and they sent me the letter, and that was the end of that app. And so
Wow,
to
it's a
this
shame
day,
because it would be great too because I often miss tweets from people that I'd actually like to never miss a tweet from. So the app's a great idea.
yeah, and it was actually working out very well. People were downloading it, and somebody even made a copycat version of it as well. That one was taken down, too. But you always know that whenever somebody is copying your app, you did a really good job, or you
Yeah,
or you did something that people are interested in.
yeah, definitely. So in building your apps for Windows Phone, there's heaps of great controls. What are the controls that you found that you've got the most benefit from in the Windows Phone suite?
Yeah, so with the Windows Phone suite, there's obviously, your standard type of controls. There's like your text block for displaying text, your text box for, maybe a user entering text. And you can customize those, but one of the ones that I use a lot is the long list selector, which is basically just a list box. And people they think of a list box and only just listing data, but there is just a wide range of things that you can actually do with that. And even like working at Telerik, obviously that's where we started extending a lot of those controls, and we came up with our own our own list box control or long list selector control called RAD data bound list box that would give you a different type of experience. Obviously, we were looking more towards performance, and just by using the long list selector, I was able to say, hey, this right here isn't doing so well when you're loading in so many items. We can make this better. Pull to refresh is something that I felt should obviously be included as
Yep.
as users refreshing data. Some of this is things that we found we improved on, but there were controls that I'm finding that I'm using in every single Windows Phone application that I build.
Excellent. And have you had any experience with the map control?
Mac.
Map.
Map. Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm so sorry. So the Nokia map control, I went through. Obviously, in the past, I was using the Bing provider and
Yep.
the Bing Maps. It was okay, but there was a lot that I was really hoping for. So with Nokia, Windows Phone 8, we finally were able to get a map control that was excellent. So you can do, those sort of things like the zooming in, zooming out, which you could do that before, but there was a level of detail there that I really didn't feel like the earlier Bing maps, provided. There's also pedestrian mode, which is really great. So pedestrian mode, you can change the different types of terrains. There's a light, there's a dark mode. So, for example, if you were creating a GPS application, you could actually turn it on just like in your normal GPS to the dark mode, and you would be able to see your phone or see the map as you're driving at night. And there's also all kinds of other really neat stuff.
Ooh,
Geo coordinates, is involved. Great turn-by-turn directions. The map control is
excellent.
really powerful with landmark features. So anything that they find significant. The Eiffel Tower is a really neat sample that I show in one of my PluralSight courses of just the 3D effect that you get out of the box without adding a single line of code that Nokia provides for you.
Wow. And so you said it's the Nokia control. Does that mean it's only going to run on Nokia phones, or?
Oh, it'll run absolutely anywhere that there's a Windows Phone 8 device. So
Yeah,
anywhere that you're using Windows Phone 8, you'll be able to use that control, and you'll be able to use it, in all of your apps, and it'll run on any type of phone, no
that's
problems.
that's great. And what work have you done with in-app purchasing?
Yeah, in-app purchasing has been one of my favorite topics because I really believe that that was something that was missing desperately from Windows Phone. Obviously, it's been around in the Android world and it's been around in Apple's world. So with in-app purchasing, there's basically two parts to that. There is consumables and there is durables. Consumable is something that you can buy over and over and over again. So like 50 points, for example. And a durable is something that you can buy one time and you own it forever. So like something like a super weapon, like a
Yeah.
BFG 9000, like in Doom or something.
Doom.
Uh, yeah, and this model really works great because what I found is that, for example, I have a 6-year-old son, and there's Where's My Water 2, which is a game that's fairly popular amongst that age range, I don't
Yep.
know, 6 to 10, somewhere around there. And so it's a Disney type of game, and so the game itself is free, but in order to progress through the game, they were using in-app purchasing, uh, you know, all over the place. So for 99 cents, you can get past a level. And so, being the great dad that I am, I'll play through with it until a point that I'm just kind of tired. And then he's like, hey, help me get past this next level. And well, I have an option of either paying 99 cents to just be done with it or playing the game for the next hour and a half.
That's pretty
a,
clever.
a lot of the times I'll just take the 99 cents option and call it a day. And it's great. It's
Wow.
great for app developers in general because your app can be free, and then you just then while they're inside your app, they purchased the full functionality of your application. So perfect win-win for both
Yeah,
sides.
that's absolutely. So, Michael, tell me, how does speech recognition and text-to-speech work in Windows Phone?
Yeah, so actually, those are two of the more popular features that I've found in a lot of Windows Phone 8 apps. So there is text to speech, which can be accomplished in as little as 2 lines of code.
Oh,
You
wow.
can, yeah, exactly. You can do things such as, change the gender. You can change the language that it's being spoken in. And then there's obviously speech to text, which is often referred to as speech recognition. And with that, obviously, you're going to be using your voice and telling your phone a command of some sort, and then it's going to send that data up to Microsoft. It'll translate it, and then it'll come back down to the phone in some sort of readable form. So in the one of my PluralSight courses that we were talking about earlier, I just showed you how to kind of display that in a message box. There is another component to that that's it's called voice commands, where you can actually hold down the start button and you can navigate to a certain page in your application. Basically, you call your application name, you can navigate to a page, you can say, like what country is it after you give it an app name, and it can take you to that. Just the same sort of functionality that you get, like if you wanted to just search Bing or call someone or something like that. But the APIs are extremely flexible for both of those. So there's a lot of built-in support for calling both of those, text to speech and speech to text, in Windows Phone 8.
Wow, that's excellent. The one of the features I love is the ability, the lenses on the camera, where you can do the language conversion, where you can hold your camera up to a piece of French or Chinese text, and then and just have it converted in real time as an English overlay over what's being displayed through the camera. Like, I find that really quite incredible.
I find that is absolutely incredible. When I was actually in Sweden for Oradev, I was able to use the camera and and hold it up, and it would display obviously all of the locations of interest, like the closest place to get something to eat, or wherever the uh, um, maybe train was, and things of that nature. So it was really neat to be able just to hold that up in real time and be able to walk through, and you could see like where gas stations were at and things like that. I mean, I think that shows you some of the power that's coming with phones in the future, that people are going to get more and more used to this sort of thing. I've even seen people use, and not really a lens but an app that that basically it used your forward-facing camera and then an overlay of like an SMS text message. So you could be texting and walking and not actually run into a pole. But
Yeah,
yeah, there is lots of lenses available. Obviously, you can create your own if you wanted to. That is one thing that I have not done for Windows Phone yet. Maybe that 1020 purchase. Maybe that could be a thing I can beg to the wife. Hey, I need the 1020, even though I can do it just as well with the 920 that I have right now.
look, as long as she doesn't watch this, you'll be fine.
Exactly, exactly.
And look, you've been around since the very beginning of Windows Phone. Over that time, what do you think are the most important lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, so like I said, I started at the very beginning. I had one of the first in the App Store. When I look back and I think about some of the things that I've learned, in particularly, is the whole model around the App Store and the marketplace, and actually getting your application there and getting it noticeable. In the earlier days, games seemed to be more of the focus of that, and the same holds true for kind of iOS. But now it seems like they will feature certain apps that are not that are not actually games. So when they feature those applications, you get a ton of downloads, and also other power sites will show your application and will get more people downloading it, as well. So there's been a lot of lessons learned, I guess, as far as like, after your app is already built and put into it. Another lesson that's learned is always invest in a very good icon. If you invest in an icon that doesn't really matter, people look at it. If it's a really crappy icon, maybe like the Twitter stalker icon, it may not get you a cease and desist letter, but it will get you, bad star, a low star rating, and then also app crashes. Capture those things instead of just letting them go. A lot of people, when the app crashes, the user doesn't know what happens. Today there is a lot of great ways to capture those exceptions and send those to a service, or even just send them to an email address. Let the user see, hey, we're trying to improve the application. And then, just feedback in general. Do things like pop-up notifications saying, hey, please rate my application. Higher ratings, leads to me, being able to, get other sites looking at this. Trial reminders. If your app is an app that's a trial, pop up a dialog box every 5 times they run it, saying, hey, if you purchase this app for 99 cents or whatever, then you'll not only support me, but you'll also help me add new features to the app.
Excellent. So there's some great tips, but what do you think the future holds for cross-platform development within the Microsoft ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Obviously, there's a lot of room, I think, for Microsoft to start doing things such as, they built Windows 8 and 8.1 is out now. Obviously, people are using that. Windows Phone is something. Windows Phone 8 is out, and people are using that. I can see Microsoft, thinking, along those terms of, we've got Windows 8, we've got Windows Phone 8. What parts of this can we share? Even though they're sharing some of it now, can we make these more tightly coupled, where they're easier to build? Maybe one app that works on both. Something of that nature. Maybe looking at a shared user interface. Even how difficult that sounds. I mean, I believe that it is something that could be capable, that they could be capable of doing. So there's a lot of room there, I believe, for these two, Windows 8.1 and Windows Phone 8 or Windows Phone V Next, kind of merging.
Because it would be nice, if you built your Windows Phone applications and then you could run them, the applications you built for Windows Phone would then just run on Windows 8 and maybe even run on Xbox, or run on all of the different all of the different Microsoft platforms.
And will instantly, you have added how many ever apps that's currently in the store right now to now Windows 8. And so, Apple did that with the iPad. And so with the iPad, you could run any iPhone application on the iPad. It may not look that great, but there was ways that you could kind of scale the application, to make it work. But that's something that they did. So if that developer didn't write a native iPad application, his iPhone application could still be installed on the iPad device. So that's a couple of things that I'm well assured that Microsoft is looking at and maybe have already done.
Yeah, excellent. Now, if I'm interested in doing Windows Phone development, I checked out your PluralSight course, and that looks fantastic. Is there anything else? What other resources should I be looking at? Have you got any recommendations there?
Absolutely. If you really do a Bing search for Jumpstart for Windows Phone 8, this is a great resource for people to just get started with Windows Phone 8 development. One thing to keep in mind is that it costs you absolutely nothing. So you can get the IDE, which is Visual Studio. There's an Express Edition, as well as the SDK. You can go as far as building your application, and if you decide later on that you want to publish it to the store, it's $25. But
Wow.
I would really recommend checking out the Jumpstart videos. My course is actually called Beyond the Basics in Windows Phone 8, and then I have another course that is coming out shortly that's strictly on the RAD controls for Windows Phone 8, which is
Oh, cool.
the team that I work on at Telerik. So I would recommend checking out the Jumpstart first, and you'll be able to find a lot of information from that. And you can also do a search for like Windows Phone 8 labs, and there is some labs that's available for people to kind of get up and going with building Windows Phone applications.
Excellent. Well, Michael, thank you very much for being on the show. Thanks for sharing your story about Twitter Stalker. You're the first menace to society that we've actually, I think, had on SSW TV. But thank you very much for joining us and sharing your experience on Windows Phone. And thank you, everyone, for joining us at SSW TV.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This has been great.
Did you get all that? We'll take the SSW TV quiz and test your knowledge now.